Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Saint-Gobain Marine Webinar, Driving Energy Efficiency Through Thermal and Lightweight Solutions. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Luis de la Cova, acting as Business Development Manager, and I'll be leading this webinar together with my colleague Kjetil Bjørgen, also acting as a Business Development Manager for our Central Business Unit of Saint-Gobain Marine. Now, before we get started, I do have some practical details to share with you. The first one is that this session will be recorded and you will have access afterwards to it, as we will send you the link so you can download it to your own use. Please, whenever you see the QR code, feel free to ask questions and scan it with your phone. And all you have to do is you have to scan it with your camera and you will be redirected to a platform where you will be able to ask your questions. Feel free to ask the questions during any time of the webinar. We will address them at the end towards the Q&A section. And if you don't scan it now, it's no problem because you will see it at the bottom left corner of all the slides and you can scan it during any time at the webinar. At the same time, you can upvote or like the questions that you would like us to address at the end of the webinar. At the same time, whenever you see the dice icon on the top right of the corner, don't worry, we will let you know when it's there. That means that it is time for an interactive session, meaning that a question will pop up in front of your screen and all you have to do is select what you think might be the correct answer. Please keep your cameras turned off as well as your microphones. And now let's start. To give you a quick reminder about Saint-Gobain Marine, Saint-Gobain Marine is a central business unit within the Saint-Gobain Group that brings together leading international brands to build marine projects, and we are able to serve all types of different ships, whether it's from passenger vessels, Navy vessels, or even offshore installations. To give you a quick overview of the different categories of solutions that we're able to cover, starting from right towards left, we have technical insulation. We have different brands covering linings and ceilings. We have high performance glass, valve packages, and also high performance glass. Now, for this webinar, we're going to focus on three of our main brands, one for high performance glass being Vetrotech, one for flooring being Weber, and one for technical insulation being Isover. Regarding today's agenda, first of all, we're going to give you a quick introduction about what energy efficiency is in the marine sector, what does it mean for us, and why does it matter? Then we'll have a quick overview about our thermal insulation solutions, later on jumping into our lightweight and weight-saving solutions. We'll conclude with a conclusion, and later we will do our second part of the webinar, which is the Q&A session. Now, regarding energy efficiency, why energy efficiency matters. We have identified three different pillars that contribute towards the energy efficiency on board. The first one is the environmental impact, meaning that we all know that shipping and shipbuilding is a significant contributor towards CO2 emissions. So that's why it's key to use energy efficiency solutions on board in order to be able to meet the sustainability targets and get a competitive advantage. The second one is cost savings. We're all familiar that fuel is a big driving cost for operating vessels. And by reducing the weight, we can also reduce the weight on board, hence lowering the consumption of fuel as well as the operational cost on board. And lastly, the regulatory compliance. We're all familiar with the global and standardized regulations coming from the IMO, such as the EEDI and the Ship Energy Efficiency Management Plan, and we have to do our best in order to meet these regulatory compliances. Now, some key aspects of energy efficiency and what does it mean for us. Fuel efficiency and propulsion systems. It's quite crucial to optimize the energy use of the vessel on board, as well as improving the hull design and reducing the drag. Regarding thermal insulation, it's crucial to tackle passenger comfort by maintaining optimal temperatures on board, as well as prevent energy loss. We will get more into detail about this later on during the webinar, as well as another pillar important for us is the lightweight materials that reduce the structural weight and reduce the fuel consumption. Lastly, but not least, we have operational efficiency, which is to optimize the ship's speed and incorporate real-time monitoring systems. Thank you very much. And now I will give the floor to my colleague Chetil to run you through the thermal insulation.
Thank you very much, Luis. On to the next slide, please, and we head straight into it. Thermal insulation plays a crucial role in minimizing energy loss, optimizing HVAC performance, and ultimately reducing the fuel consumption. This is only one of the key factors in achieving overall energy efficiency. To control internal temperatures, thermal insulation is essential to minimize heat loss in cold environments and prevent heat gain in warmer climates. This reduces the load on the HVAC systems, which in turn reduces overall fuel consumptions. Well aware that HVAC system is one of the largest energy consumers on a ship, especially on passenger vessels. In addition, efficient thermal insulation ensures that HVAC systems are not overworked, which increases their longevity and reliability. Many insulation materials that we use on ships are fire resistant, helping to slow the spread of fire in case of an emergency. This is especially important in high-risk areas like engine rooms, where maintaining both temperature control and fire resistance is of essence. To create a more comfortable and safer environment, thermal insulation helps maintain consistent temperatures across living and working spaces. This is particularly important on long journeys where temperature fluctuations could be a source of discomfort. Next slide, please. The terms lambda value and U value both relate to thermal performance, but they measure different aspects. To avoid confusion between the two, I'll try to explain. Thermal conductivity, often referred to as the lambda value, is a measure of a material's ability to conduct heat. The lower the thermal conductivity, the better the material is at insulating. Insulation materials with low thermal conductivity are more effective at reducing heat transfer, making them crucial for minimizing energy loss on board a vessel. The U value measures the rate of heat transfer through a building element, such as walls, floors, or windows. It is the inverse of the R value and takes into account the entire structure, including any layers of insulation and construction materials. A lower U value indicates better insulating performance, meaning less heat is lost through the material, contributing to energy efficiency. This is especially important for windows, floating floors, insulation constructions, where maintaining a stable temperature could be challenging. Next slide, please. Isover have designed Ultimate UC Protect series for marine and offshore with excellent thermal, acoustic, and fire properties. The best comfort class constructions in our portfolio will provide you with the highest level of performance that can be reached with a mineral wool system. Here is a simple example to showcase how much you are able to save just playing with thickness of the insulation construction using UC Protect. A reduction in the U value by 0.3 watt per square meter Kelvin means that the insulation now allows less heat to pass through, leading to energy savings over time. If you then have a surface of 10,000 square meters and the temperature difference between outside and inside is 20 Kelvin or 20 degrees Celsius throughout the year in general, we multiply with time, which in this case would be 8,760 hours. Then you would have an annual saving of 525 megawatt hours. So to visualize, one normal household in Norway would use 20,000 kilowatt hours per year. To have an energy efficient insulation construction on a ship as showcased here, you would save the energy of approximately 26 Norwegian households annually. And now with this in mind, Lewis will further take us through how glazing contributes to energy efficiency.
Yes, you're very right, Chetil. And it's the same principle, it's just applied to a different solution or a different material. So for the fundamental notions of thermal insulations, when it comes to glazing, we are looking at the same value, like the U value, which, as you well mentioned, measures the rate of heat transfer through a building element, such as a wall, floors, or window. And as general rule of thumb, meaning that a lower U value means that the better the glass is at insulating the temperature. Nonetheless, we have another factor that it's the G factor, which it measures the amount of solar energy, meaning heat, that passes through a window or a glazing. And at the same time, we are often considering for our specification work another value of the glass, the light transmission. Now, I told you at the beginning of the webinar that whenever you would see a dice icon on the top right corner, it means that an interactive session is coming. So before we move on with the webinar, I would like to ask you a question. And the question is, what is a coating when talking about glazing performance? The first option, it's a mechanical test required by the IMO in order to withstand the pressure from the waves. Option 2, it's a foil in between laminated glass to increase its resistance and colors. Or option 3, it's a thin layer of material applied to the surface of the glass to improve its performance. Now, please feel free to vote and select the question that you think is the right one, and we will address it later on. And I can see that we already have 20 responses, 22. I see a lot of people going for the third option. Let's give it some time so we can let people vote as well. I see some people are going for option 2. Interesting. I see that somebody just changed their minds and they went to option 3. Okay. 29 responses. People please keep voting. Okay. I think everybody has votes now. All right. So everybody who voted for option 3, well, congratulations, you got it right. A coating is indeed a very thin layer of materials, usually extracted from minerals, that contributes towards the performance of the glazing, meaning that thanks to applying a specific coating, we're able to achieve the values explained before, such as the light transmission, the U value, and the G factor. Now, it's crucial to select the right coating based on where exactly the ship is going to sail, whether it's through sunny and warm regions, cold and harsh winter conditions, or a mixture between both. For a mixture of between both, meaning that the ship will sail through cold and warm conditions, I'm going to show you the values that we're able to achieve as a concrete example by the KM Ultimate coating. This is our star coating, the #1 coating in the world, with a triple silver extract minerals applied on the coating. And to give you some idea about the values that we're able to achieve with this coating, a light transmission of around 60 to 70%, depending on the glass composition, meaning that it creates a very bright atmosphere inside of the room. So you're not compromising on having light transmission coming inside the vessel. We can achieve a G factor anywhere from 0 to 28% to 32%, guaranteeing maximum comfort and enhancing consumption savings. And the U value of 1.0. That could even be brought down to 0.5 if we were to use a triple glazing unit. This means that By using the right type of coating and the high-performance glazing, you could have a significant impact on the consumption of the HVAC, hence reducing the energy consumptions on board. If you have any questions now, I will remind you that you can scan the barcode on the bottom left corner of the screen, and we will address them at the end of the webinar. Now that we have explained to you the thermal insulation part of the webinar, let's get a little bit more in depth regarding weight savings and lightweight solutions. Chetil, I pass it back to you.
Thank you for this, Luis, and jump to the next slide. Lightweight materials decrease the overall weight of the vessel, meaning less energy, hence fuel, is required to propel the ship through water. Fuel is one of the largest operating costs, as Luis mentioned earlier in the webinar, for any vessel, so reducing weight directly leads to lower fuel usage, translating into significant cost savings over time. Lighter vessels experience less drag in the water, which allows them to require less power to maintain a given speed. This increases the vessel's overall performance, focus on maneuverability rather than speed. Lightweight solutions would also help vessels to comply with strict environmental regulations like the International Maritime Organization or the IMO's limits on sulfur oxides and CO2 emissions. Lighter vessels use less fuel and therefore produce fewer greenhouse gases, logically enough, helping to meet international standards for sustainability and to reduce the environmental impact of marine operations. Reducing the structural weight of a vessel allows for more weight to be allocated without exceeding the safety limits. This is particularly important for cargo ships and tankers, where every additional ton of cargo would increase the profitability. And a lighter structure lowers the center of gravity, which can improve the stability of the vessel in rough seas or high winds. By reducing weight at higher points on the ship, such as decks and superstructures, lightweight solutions help to balance the ship more effectively. Next slide, please. I will start by introducing Weber Marine Floating Floor as an extraordinary weight-saving case. The example shown here in this slide is a newly developed floating floor versus a traditional solution used throughout many years of shipbuilding. The buildup of the Weber Marine A60 floor N Light starts with a significant reduction in the insulation thickness of 20 mm versus the traditional one. And on top of the insulation, instead of a time-consuming handling and installing of heavy steel plates, Weber Marine uses a glass fabric cloth, reinforcement grid, and Weber Floor 4660 marine elastic self-leveling as a top layer. Now, let us put cost efficiency together with energy efficiency. Not only does the Weber Marine solution hold an A60 certificate, but you would save 17 kilo per square meter on this solution. It is quite common to utilize at least 1,000 square meter of floating floor on a commercial vessel, which again would save you 17,000 kilos. On top of that, Weber Marine increased the free height in accommodation by reducing the total thickness of this solution by 11 millimeters. With this solution, you also have the possibility to significantly reduce the installation time compared to the traditional solution. 1,000 square meter of this solution, Weber Marine A60 floor, can be installed in only 4 to 5 days. Next slide, thank you. We want to showcase 5 specialized screed and self-leveling products designed for use in different areas of a ship. Each of these products offers a unique weight-saving advantage, which is essential for fuel efficiency, overall vessel performance, but perhaps most importantly, increased stability. The possibility of saving these amounts of weight shown here visualizes the importance of doing a good specification, especially in key areas. specification and technical questions in regard of floor systems and products, Weber Marine specialists will support you with. Next slide. The National Geographic Endurance and Resolution is 2 advanced polar expedition cruise vessels operated by Lindblad Expedition in collaboration with National Geographic. Named after Sir Ernest Shackleton's famous ship Endurance, they are designed to navigate the harshest polar conditions. This state-of-the-art vessel could accommodate up to 126 guests in luxurious and environmentally friendly accommodations. Now, as you see, we have the 2 dices appearing on the screen. So again, we would like you to interact with us and in answering the question. How many kilo would you think Weber Marine Solutions saved on one vessel? Now we have 4 different alternatives. 2,600 kilo is the first one. 7,300 kilo is the second one. The third one is 11,500 kilos. And the fourth alternative is 23,700 kilos. Please vote, ladies and gentlemen. I would say our participants are quick. We already have 25 answers, but we will still hold a little bit longer in order for everyone to be able to participate. And all the answers are anonymous, so don't worry, we will not showcase any answers. I will only reveal the correct one afterwards. We have surpassed 30 answers, and I will conclude in 3, 2, 1, and thank you. Most of you, the most answers was actually the correct one, alternative 3. Using Weber Marine Solutions and materials saved Lindblad Expedition vessels with a total of 23,040 kilo. So split on 2, the correct answer for the question was alternative 3, 11,500 kilo per vessel. This was made possible by doing a great specification of optimizing the floor plan, using self-leveling lightweight screeds 4680 Marine Light and 4686 Marine Extra Light. Next slide, please. Also on this slide, we will start with an interactive question, and you will see the question on the screen. And what percentage of a ship's energy consumption goes to the HVAC system? Would you think? We have 3 alternatives, ladies and gentlemen. The first one is 10%, the second one is 20%, and the third one is 30%. Now, we would like you to interact. Already, we have 26 answers. People are quick. There is still time to reconsider. I see we have actually answers on all 3 alternatives. Very few on the first one. The main answers are split between alternative 2 and 3. Still a few more seconds before we reveal. Anyone else before we close the interactive window? We have a split of 48% for both alternative 2 and alternative 3. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for actively taking part in this. The HVAC systems consume, on average, all ship segments taken into consideration, approximately 30% of a ship's energy use, but the range can vary between 10 to 50% based on several factors. Like I mentioned earlier, passenger ships like expedition cruise and cruise vessels have a higher HVAC demand. They could consume up to 50% for comfort and ventilation. Operating in extreme climates increases, of course, the HVAC energy consumption. Energy efficient systems and smart controls reduce the HVAC consumption significantly. And newer ships compared with older ships with modern systems typically consume less energy on HVAC systems, all the way down to 10% actually. Now, Isover have developed a lightweight, self-supported HVAC duct with very good thermal resistance, reduced thermal bridges, and excellent air tightness. This sustainable duct significantly reduces energy consumption and limits greenhouse gas emissions. The ClimaVair ducts are up to 65% lighter than traditional metal ducts. The lightweight ducts improves the ship's stability, allowing more design freedom, especially above the waterline. Reducing HVAC system weight enables more cargo or passenger space, converting deadload into payload. In all, this ClimaVair duct offers a sustainable solution, enhancing the ship efficiency, stability, and profitability while lowering environmental impact. Lewis will show you the weight-saving contribution with glazing. So Lewis, the floor is again yours.
Thank you very much, Ketil. And yes, to continue the discussion on weight savings, now that we understand how we're able to save weight on floorings and technical insulation, I'm going to run you through how it's possible to achieve weight savings for glazing. So I'm going to ask you to see the slide from left to right and imagine that the composition that you're seeing on the left is the exterior window of a ship. Now, the way that we are able to achieve weight savings is by basically reducing the thickness of the needed glass and hence reducing the weight of it. Our solution is called Static Marine. And as I mentioned, very often towards the pressure panes, there is a need coming from the classification societies such as DNV, Lloyd's Register, or Bureau Veritas to calculate a quite thick, heavy composition of glass. And this is because these pressure panes need to withstand the pressure coming from the waves and from the wind. So these are usually the windows that are located towards the lower decks of the ship or the portholes in the hull. Now, the way that Static Marine works is that, let's take the example of a 25 millimeter glass that needs to be laminated with a 6 millimeters glass. And the reason of this is, as I said, the 25 millimeters to withstand the pressure from the waves. And we have to add a lamination with a 6 millimeter thickness pane in order to be able to achieve the values that we previously discussed about, such as the light transmission, the U value, and the G factor, because these coatings only come in thicknesses from 6, 8, 10, maybe 12 millimeters. So for that reason, we need to add the lamination. Afterwards, towards the interior of the ship, we would see the spacer bar filled with argon or krypton, and then the rest of the inside composition. This would have an estimated weight of around 94 kilos per square meters. So what we're able to do with Static Marine, now focusing on the other half of the screen, we're able to reduce this thickness of 25 millimeters to 12 millimeters of glass, while still making no compromises on the mechanical strength achieved by the glass. So instead of having a 25, we reduce it to a 12, and then we still need to add the 6 millimeters in order to add the coating, followed by the rest of the inner paint and the composition. This has a weight of approximately 61.6 kilograms per square meters, while still not compromising on the U value of 1.0, the light transmission, and the G value as well of 0.26%. So for this reason, we're able to achieve over 35% weight savings per square meter on this exact composition. Now, to run you through some of the key benefits of it, let me change my slide, is that it's safer because it's still laminated glass, meaning that if the glass were to break, the glass will remain intact and in place because it's going to be glued to the foil in between. It contributes significantly towards weight savings, meaning that the ship is going to use less fuel, hence less CO2 emissions. We are securing the thermal performances, meaning that it's going to reduce the consumption of the HVAC, hence lower CO2 emissions on board. We're using less glass because we're using thinner compositions, which means that we're using less resources and hence more environmentally friendly. We still ensure clear visibility, and we avoid the usage of 25 millimeters of glass. And to sum it up, the way that we're able to achieve the same mechanical strength by using thinner glass is because the way that and the process that we use by tempering the glass, it's quite different, as well as the lamination in between the paints. It's also not the standardized PVB. And hence, we're able to combine our weight-saving solutions really to all the different solutions that we're able to offer, such as fire-rated solutions from B0 to A60, thermal performances, as well as heated glass. Thank you very much for listening to the first part of our webinar. Now I will hand it to you, Chetil, once again, so you can conclude and bring it together.
Thank you, Luis, for your insights on the impact weight saving would contribute to on the ship. As Luis said, now that we have shown you all the importance of optimizing thermal values and weight savings on a ship, I would like to summarize a bit the content we've been through. Optimizing cost efficiency on a ship can be achieved through strategic use of thermal insulation, advanced glazing, floating floors, and other lightweight materials. These elements work synergistically to reduce fuel cost, minimize emissions, and maintain comfort for passenger and crew. High-performance thermal insulation reduces the demand on HVAC systems by stabilizing internal temperatures, minimizing heat loss in colder climates, and reducing cooling needs in warmer climates. Incorporating high-efficiency glazing materials, such as double or triple pane windows with low emissivity coatings, improves thermal insulation further by minimizing heat transfer. Glazing with heat-reflective coatings can also reduce solar heat gain, which is especially beneficial in warmer regions. Additionally, using advanced glazing materials such as lightweight polycarbonate or thin film glass not only improves insulation, but it also contributes to overall weight reduction. Utilizing lightweight solutions, combining insulation, floating floors, HVAC, and glazing will significantly reduce the vessel's overall weight and improve the fuel efficiency. Lower weight translates directly to reduced fuel consumption and operation costs, as well as performance and maneuverability. Our next slide, please. I'm just jumping ahead of myself, Luis, here. So our experts are here to help you to find the right solution that would meet your specific needs, ladies and gentlemen. But in addition, our brands have developed several tools in order to make specification work somewhat easier. So the Vetrotech specification template provides a comprehensive ready-made framework that includes essential performance metrics such as light transmission, U value, G factor, and optimal coating recommendations based on climate and application. This tool would ensure that you make the best choices for energy efficiency and performance from the outset, streamlining decision-making, reducing design time, and of course, promoting consistency across projects. Isover have a great solution selector, and Weber Marine have technical, calculations, and project-based tools. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes part 1 of our webinar, and I will now leave the floor to my colleague, Luis, for part 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ketil, and thank you everyone who has been asking the questions. Yes, so I can see that already we have some questions, but for the Q&A section, I'm going to remind you to scan the QR code for the last time if you still have some questions you would like to address. And for the Q&A session, we're actually joined by two of our technical experts directly from our two brands of Weber. We have Robin Mattsson, and for Isover and technical insulation, we have Carol Durantet, who is going to help us reply to all of your technical questions. And for the glass, I will try to do it myself. So now we can see which questions have had the most likes, and we can see the first one already. What's the load bearing capacity for 25mm marine elastic in Weber A60 floor system for avoiding cracks in case of raised data floors above, or for medium to heavier traffics, example for forklifts? Well, that's clearly regarding flooring. So Robin, I will let you answer this one.
Thank you, Luis. It's a very good question. So we have done a lot of mechanical testing for our floating floor systems. And for example, one test is that we have made a wheel rolling test where it's managed to handle 2,200 kilos of wheel rolling traffic without any cracks. And we have also made a lot of, loading tests where we also have tested over 2,000 kilos without any cracks. But what is very important is if you're putting the insulation slabs directly on the steel deck, it will help a lot if the steel deck is leveled to avoid cracks in the system if you have an areas with a lot of load.
Understood. Thank you very much, Robin. I think that's quite clear.
I will jump on then and present the next question. Could coating on a glass also contribute to improved acoustic insulation properties? Now, this is a glazing question, so I will direct the question back to you, Luis.
Yes. Well, the short answer is no. A coating cannot contribute towards the improved acoustic insulation properties. The coating solutions are only affecting the thermal insulation properties of the glass. Nonetheless, we do have some solutions for acoustic performance and noise reduction. And the way that we achieve it is by selecting a different foil in between the lamination, as well as calculating the different thickness of the argon chamber in between the glass panes for the double glazing unit. So in short answer, no, but we still have other solutions that could help you with it. I will see the next question that it's popping up. All right. How is equivalent strength of glass documented when not in line with minimal thickness by regulatory class requirement? Is it by strength testing? Are tests then project specific? Yes, you are correct. It's a very good question and very valid one. Usually it has to do with the regulation of ISO 614, which is a non-destructive test that is applied to the glazings of that are required for the pressure pane, as I was discussing earlier. But this is always to be addressed together with the shipyard or the classification society that it's in charge of delivering that project. But yes, it doesn't necessarily need to be in thicknesses expressed in millimeters. It can also be in kilonewtons, for example.
So I jump on the next question then, and
Yes.
Let's see. What are the key factors to consider for mineral wool insulation in order to achieve optimal U-value performance in our system? Now, this is a question I would happily redirect to Mrs. Durantet.
Thank you, Ketil, and hello to everyone. So in order to have a low U value, there's two important or key factors to look at for mineral wool. So the first one, as explained, I think, before by Jetil, is the thermal conductivity. That is a fundamental property for insulation that defines how well a material conduct heat. So the lower, the better. And the second thing is obviously the thickness. It was shown also in this table how the thickness will impact the U value. So this is the two key elements to look at when designing a division and when you want to optimize your U value.
Thank you very much, Carol.
All right, I see another question. Is the A60 classification for Weber Marine A60 floating floor system limited to the thicknesses of 55 millimeters shown in this webinar? Robin, can you address this one?
Yes, thank you, Luis. The answer is no. The solution is tested and certified to provide you with many different variants where you can adjust the thickness, for example, of the insulation and also the self-leveling screed on top of the insulation. And that will give you a lot of design freedom during the design process. And actually, the solution is certified for A60 already from 45 millimeter thickness when using 20 millimeter of insulation slabs. And the certificate also allows you to use, for example, viscoelastic material directly on the steel deck under the insulation if you have areas where you need to improve the, the acoustic values for vibration or low frequencies values there.
Understood. Thank you very much, Robin. Let's see if we have another question. Okay, I see another one. How can lightweight solutions contribute during the construction time of a vessel? Carol, I will forward this one to you as well.
Okay. So I guess it goes with installation time. Here we are speaking about installation time. I guess obviously where you are going, or at least when considering UC Protect solution, which is let's say a lightweight stone wool, we have developed a set of solution in order to tackle this question about installation time. So we have proposed some ways to insulate the stiffeners in a faster way. We have also the possibility to decrease the number of cuts of waste due to the use of rolls. So yes, the answer is yes, we can contribute with lightweight insulation to increase, let's say, the square meter of insulation done per day.
Yes. And I think, Robin, as well, if you can, maybe you can add something regarding how quick the self-leveling screed is able to dry and how much square meters you're able to install per hour, for example.
Yes, for sure. The self-leveling screed that Kjetil have presented here from Weber, it's especially developed for the marine and offshore use. And one of the, futures of the self-leveling screed is especially the drying time, that you can work on those between after 1 to 3 hours. And also when they are self-leveling and pumpable, that means it gives you a lot of possibility to reduce the installation time if you're using, for example, a mixer pump. And you can easily install up to 3,000-4,000 square meters of self-leveling per day if you're using a mechanical mixer pump.
Quite clear. Thank you, Robin. Do we have another question? Kjetil, maybe you can take this one.
Yeah. How is it possible to reduce the thickness of the insulation slabs in the Weber Marine A60 floor and light and still improve the acoustic properties versus the traditional solution? Now, this is a good one, Robin.
Yes, this is a very good question. So one of the key factors for acoustic installation is the dynamic stiffness. And the lower dynamic stiffness, that means the better acoustic values. And for the insulation that we're using in our solution, we're using the Isover Vetrotech Slab 90. And the dynamic stiffness of the Isover product is about 50% less compared to traditional mineral wool with 140 kilo density. So that is why you actually can reduce the thickness, but still achieve similar or actually many times better acoustic sound values. Mm-hmm.
Before we jump on to this question, I would remind the audience to ask several questions if they have more questions related to the webinar and the content we have shown. We are nearing the end, but we still have some time to squeeze in a few more if you still have the app open for asking your questions. Lewis, would you take this question?
Yes. What type of material are Saint-Gobain duct systems made of? Carol, you are the right one to answer this.
Thank you. So Saint-Gobain is a self-supporting duct and is made of glass wool insulation that is recovered on both sides with vapor-tight foil on one side, and on the inner side with some fabrics in order to absorb the acoustic noise within the duct.
All right. Thank you very much for that answer, Carol. And I see that we have run out of time. So I would like to thank you all for tuning in and for your active participation. It has been a pleasure to have you here with us and to answer the questions that you have raised. As a quick reminder, we will send you the link to access the webinar so you can see the repetition. And thank you very much once again. It was our pleasure to have you. I wish you a very good day and thank you for tuning in. Until next time.